Welcome to the Building Sheriffs podcast. I am Paul Puccioni, otherwise known as Pooch, and with me is Chris E.W. Jowett. Today, we are going to be talking about tricky customers, or should we call them cowboy customers, cowboy clients? Lots of different names. But before we get on to that, let's say hello to Chris. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, old sport. And I've had a very interesting beginning to my day. I live in a little village. I'm chairman of the village hall committee. And in April of this year, we organised the getting of a Sparks, which is an electrician in, to do a couple of little jobs. This is in April of this year. And I now know why the public gets so annoyed with builders. Because bear in mind, builders don't experience this because they're builders. 7 months went by, and I for the last two of those, I've phoned this guy up. By the way, he's a lovely man, and he's an incredibly good Sparks, but his organisational ability is nil. He has the organisational ability of a billy goat. So he came in, and it's only half a day's work. He came in after 7 months and didn't have enough stuff with him to do the full job. So he said, this is about 4 weeks ago. So he said he'd come back the following Tuesday, which was about 3 weeks ago.
What's he actually doing? I mean, because last time I was up at your place, they just installed some kind of cardiac arrest machine because everyone in the village is so bloody old. So what's the Sparks doing for you?
Well, the Sparks is because the central heating is too complicated for people to work. We wanted to simplify it by putting just some buttons right by the front door. So when people come in, they press the button. One button for half an hour, one button for an hour, one button for 2 hours, and they do. And he was going to do that, and he did that bit, but he didn't have the frost stat with him, which he was going to put on as well.
Right.
So he was coming back on the following Tuesday. That was about 3 weeks ago, and you know. Honestly, his competence as an administrator is nil. And so, he was there all day today. That's why I mentioned it. He turned up at 8:30, and he wants to sit down and have a cup of tea and a rollie a fag before he starts. I sympathise with you, the public.
Yeah, so this is quite interesting. I mean, today we're going to be talking about tricky customers. Did you find that very quickly you became a customer rather than a builder? Did you think, oh well, he's a builder, I'll accept all of that?
No. I'm very, very aware that I do not want to be the customer. You know, I'm very blokey because that's just the way I am. So no, I no.
You know that I've worked on several of these TV shows, and often there's a cowboy element referred to about builders, and even when we do these shows, other builders call us cowboys because we have to do them all very quickly, these makeovers. In our line of work, you're never too far. It's probably like living in Tombstone. You're never far from a cowboy, are you? But we're aware of that epithet and may disagree with it, but we are aware that there are cowboy builders around. There's no disputing that. And as you said before, there are different types. There are plain thieves who just knock on your door, say that your roof's caving in, to a little old lady, we need 1,500 quid, and they take that and they just bugger off.
Yeah.
And there are just incompetent people.
Yeah. What
every builder will be thinking when they see these TV shows is, yep, fine, I agree, but for every cowboy builder, maybe not every cowboy builder, but there are cowboy customers out there, and this is never addressed. TV channels would never have a show on about cowboy customers with hidden cameras, with some man or woman screaming at the builder, being totally unreasonable, withholding money, treating them like something on the bottom of their shoe, because there'd be an outcry, yet this can happen to builders. So do you have any experience of cowboy clients, Chris?
Hundreds of the damn things.
No, you surprised me.
Hundreds of the damn things, Pooch. Yes, indeed.
It goes with the territory, doesn't it?
You see, sometimes it isn't. I mean, just like there are degrees of thieves amongst builders.
Yeah,
there are clients who set out to defraud the builder.
Yeah,
I know you've got experience of this.
Yes, absolutely.
But and when it happens to you, you realise far too late after you spent far too much time or far too much money on the job, and you realise the person you're dealing with is a thief, and they've set out to defraud you. And there's very, very little you can do about it. The thing to do is walk away from that moment on. But you've got 10 grand or 10 or 500 quid invested in the job, and you try and get it back, and you can't get it back. You can take them to court. Good luck with that. Good luck with taking them to court.
And it's throwing good money after bad, isn't it? Because, as you say, a builder turns up to a job and all of this thing about, well, shall I pay the builder money in advance? People don't. That's fine. So I'm doing a job at the moment, building some cupboards at this very nice house. And I've just spent a grand's worth of materials on MDF and paint, loads of cupboards. And I turn up and I've got 2 guys working there, and their wages at the end of the week will be £1,500. So before I ask for a penny, I'm 2.5 grand in without my wages. Yeah. Now, that's a massive trust thing. My last experience of a cowboy client was, again, doing some cupboards, and I was doing the cupboards, and halfway through they said, oh, we want a completely different design. And I said, well, this is what we agreed. I said, well, that's what it'll be. And they said, well, we can't afford that. And I said, well, this is what we've agreed to. And they said, well, we don't want to go ahead with it. And I said, well, I've just spent 800 quid on materials. I've been working here for a week. So I'm 1,500 quid, 2 grand into the job. They said, well, sorry, off you go. Now, short of ripping those cupboards out, the half-built cupboards, and trying to glue the MDF back together and take it back to the timber merchants, you're right. There's nothing I can do. I took it on the chin. I was fuming. I took it on the chin. What could I do? I mean,
well, that's one phrase for it. Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, those people weren't thieves. They were just downright stupid and worked out, a week into the job that they'd cocked up their finances. But there is a third group of people.
Oh, Chris, sorry, can I point out on this one, by the way, they didn't pay me for what I'd done so far because I couldn't do the more expensive job at the same price. They didn't give me any money at all. They stole my labour from me, and they stole those materials from me. Yes. So they are thieves. I beg to differ.
Ultimately, they are. But they didn't set out to defraud you.
Maybe not.
We must assume, or maybe they did. But judging by what you said, they did.
Yeah.
There's another category of client as well who's completely unable to come to terms with a change in circumstances during the job. For instance, let's say a builder's let's say he's a decorator and he's stripping the wallpaper off, and a load of plaster comes off the wall, and he has to start plastering. And he tells the punter this, and they're completely unable to come to terms with the fact this essentially is going to cost them more money.
Sure.
The builder isn't lying to them. He can show it. He doesn't want to have a blazing row with them in their kitchen at 8:30 in the morning, which might result in him being thrown off the job. The last thing he wants is that. And people just seem to think that the builder's making it up. Builders do not make things up. It's nonsense.
Nor does he want the extra work, Chris, because he will have a tight schedule. And if he's then got to wait to get a plaster in, that means he doesn't work for a day, and the plasterer's got to come in, then it's got to dry for a day or so. So he really, really doesn't want this work. And I think that this is what people find hard to believe. They say, well, why didn't you know that the plaster was going to fall off the wall? Because I'm not David bloody Copperfield.
No, he doesn't go around with a little short stick with a black stick with 2 white ends, does he?
No, exactly. Let's understand that there's also another category that they're not cowboys, but will go to tricky customers. And they are the customers who sit there and watch you and ask you about everything you're doing and why aren't you doing this and why haven't you done that yet? And you feel like saying, Madam, sir, please just wait till I've finished and I'll show you, here's one I prepared earlier. Rather than saying, well, why is that like that? Because I haven't finished yet and you don't know what you're talking about. That's quite common, isn't it?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes.
Effectively, Chris, when you are working and you've got the customer sat behind you telling you what to do and asking questions about everything, people have to remember that these are our employers. These people pay our wages, and as usual, we builders are cap in hand. Please pay us at the end of the week. Please be pleased with our work. you can't say, look, why don't you just bugger off out of your own home? Because our workplace is their homes. It's very difficult. However, I would love to say to the client, okay, what do you do? Oh, I'm in IT. Okay, I know bugger all about IT, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come along, I'll put a big chair next to your desk in your office, and then I'll point at everything and ask you why you're doing that. Shouldn't you do that? And that button looks nice. Why don't you press it? That's what it's like.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Good luck with saying that to them, obviously.
And of course, but why can't we, Chris? Because of this bloody relationship where we are cap in hand and they are our employers and they treat us as they choose to treat us. And you know, we see a massive slice of life that other people don't see, because by the time you've been in someone's house for a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's not like it's just a friend knocking on the door. Hi, how are you? You might be in a really bad mood. Hi, how are you? Come in. And you're in a suddenly fantastic mood. You see warts and all, and you see the true person. And some of these people are nasty. Some of these people, you know, or you feel are just going to get every single penny they can out of you and are never going to be satisfied. And you could be Shah Jahan creating the Taj Mahal for them and they still wouldn't be bloody happy.
One of my worst clients like that was a very good friend of mine.
Right.
And I never really got on with his wife much. I did a lot of work for him once. Admittedly, the poor bloke had bought this monster house in, I won't say where it is because he'll know who I'm talking about if he ever listens to this. And it was just like a sponge. It go on.
Chris, I think we've got our listener already, so he probably won't.
It was a 4-story job in Peckham, and it was like a sponge. It didn't matter how much money he had. He could throw it at this house, and it just disappeared.
I remember I worked on it.
Did you?
Yes, I did, with Dan, who could carry 2 50-kilo bags of plaster on his shoulder. Do you remember?
I do. Good old Dan. I wonder where Dan is now.
He'll be probably mapping and surveying the North Canadian coast of Hudson Bay or something like that.
With just a shirt on.
Yeah, because he went into the Marines.
Yes, he did, didn't he? Yes. Oh, I'd forgotten all about Dan. What a lovely boy.
Happy memories. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, but this pal of mine who I'd known a very, very long time.
Who we now know who it is, so just say his name.
I'd never spent, 4 weeks in his house listening to the way he operates. And he drove me bloody insane. It got to the point that the scaffolder was going to belt him.
Really?
And this scaffolders don't mess about. If they're going to belt you, they're going to belt you.
And you're not going to dissuade the scaffolder either, are you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, did you?
But this man was not joking. This lad was a monster. He was six. People say people are tall. This guy was 6'6", and he was a scaffolder. He could have taken on the 8th Army. All right, he'd have lost, but my God, they'd have known they'd been enough scrap.
To take a line from John McVicker, he would have been the best bloody second they'd ever had.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, and it turned out that this lad's wife, my mate's wife, was an absolute little joy. She took over. I just pushed him out of the way, my pal. Not during this scaffolding episode, but just generally, because he could not deal with not being in charge. And his wife, the whole table's turned. So you do get a massive insight into people when you spend an awful lot of time with them, don't you? Yeah,
indeed. Behind closed doors. I mean, I've had a similar thing, and interestingly, one of my biggest problems, I'm not talking about someone taking money or not paying me. Knocking is the term that we use in the building fraternity. Someone knocks you. I had a job, and the couple, again, very nice friends of mine. I won't mention who they are. They don't currently live around here, but she was lovely and he was lovely. And he was organising the work, and he said, oh, well, I don't care. Just do this, do that, do this, do that. We're refurbishing some windows. Turns out, and he was lovely about it, but it turns out he was the pickiest, fussiest man on the planet. And everything I did wasn't good enough, and I had to redo it, and everything was below standard. And you get to the point as a builder where you think, if you're so bloody good, why don't you do it yourself? Because I'm doing the best I can do here for the money that I'm charging.
That is a highly relevant point. Well, first of all, if these people said at the beginning, by the way, I am the fussiest bloke on the planet, and I will sit over your shoulder and pick. And then he said to you, so you can charge me 5 times as much.
Yep.
You wouldn't charge him 5 times as much. You just wouldn't do the job. Because money sometimes isn't actually the only aspect relevant to going to work most of the time.
No, because in your head you've got massive alarm bells ringing through your builder's sixth sense, and you won't go near the job.
No. Clients like that are a nightmare.
And that's the thing, Chris. Actually, it's again another interesting point with regard to money. Effectively, people are buying us; they are renting us. And that's what any employer does for an employee. They want us to come to their house and they pay us money. But almost because they pay us money, you sometimes get the impression they feel they own you.
Yes, indeed.
They feel that they can order you around and tell you what to do because it's their money and they are paying you. However, that's not the case. You are doing a job in their house for which you get payment at the end. The money is an agreed figure. They are not paying you to be in their house. They're paying for the work to be done. And I think that people find it hard to disassociate the man and the work. It's that kind of duality.
Yeah, well, you're getting into Jean-Paul Sartre now, mate. And I was away that day.
René Descartes, actually, mate.
Bugger. I knew it was some sort of a Frenchman.
Maybe people might accuse us of being sensitive, but if every day you're in people's houses and you are working for them and you do your best and you've seen these problems before and that's your workplace and it's the first time they've come across it and you've come across it a million times and you have to coax them through this whole procedure, it's just bloody hard work, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And there are 2 processes. Please, if you're listening to this and you're about to take on builders, please try to avoid both of these 2 processes. The first one is, if the guy's coming to fit your kitchen, and this happened to me, you say to him, turn up at 8 o'clock. We won't be there. We've gone to work. The kitchen will be clear. Just come in and ripped out. So we got there, let ourselves in. And the kitchen wasn't clear. They hadn't even done the washing up from the previous.
Oh. I've had that so many times in kitchens.
Yeah, what they'd done is just walked away and thought, maybe he won't notice. So we had to empty all the cupboards, and we had to put the thousands of lotions and potions and bottles of lark's tongues in aspic somewhere. So we put them on the dining room table. And then we did the washing up. We actually washed up, but we could, how do you dry it?
I've done it.
So, and then we charged them for all this extra work, and they were not one bit happy. Because the 3 of us turned up to do the job. I think it cost them about 80 odd quid or whatever, just to do what they said they were going to do themselves.
Sure.
And the other thing that please do not do with builders is you've given them the job. They know what's going on. And during the course of the previous evening, you've had a little discussion, you and your lovely wife, about the fact that you're changing your mind.
Yep.
Now, all right, you've got to tell him at some point, and I don't quite know when the point is, but the builder turns up in the morning at 8 o'clock, and he's prepared. He says to his brother, the blokes know what they're going to,
of course,
what they're going to do for the first half hour or so. It's all set. You say, just a minute, can I have a quick chat with you? And have you seen the builder's face drop? That's because this has happened to him 1,700 times in the past. So he just says to his blokes, just hang about. Yeah. And you say to him, it'll only take 5 minutes. He knows that's a nonsense. It'll take 3/4 of an hour. Well, you totally redesign the whole job in front of him, wanting prices for this, prices for that. He hasn't a clue. He isn't prepared for it. Diddly-dee, diddly-da. No. So it's taken 3/4 of an hour or whatever, and that's for 4 blokes to sit around doing nothing. That's cost you another 80 quid or whatever. He can't even charge you for that. And don't do it in the morning at 8 o'clock. Phone the poor godforsaken man at 7:30 at night, so that at least he has, it is I used to call it, you got VAT. I used to call it FAT. Now, the first word is unrepeatable, but the second 2 words are about time. You are what's-a-naming him about at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, well, that was on my... the thing that we never do, our little top tips, I actually wrote mine down. I did my homework. I don't know if you did your top 3 tips. No, okay, of course. But so I had that down.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I promise you, you can see it.
Really, really, really sorry.
I had to. They keep changing their mind.
You want to get up earlier in the morning.
Also... Okay, I mean, alarm bells ring when customers insist they know better. When you're telling them something and they have a little bit of information, and that's, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And the other one is when they keep trying to knock you down on price, because you have quoted your amount of days and your blokes and your materials, and that's what you earn. We're not bloomin' millionaires. We earn our wage, and that's it. And if you try and knock us down, we can't do the same job for that price.
At what point in the process are you suggesting they try and knock us down? We haven't started the job at this point, have we?
No, I'm saying before. I'm saying the quote, this is when the alarm bells ring. So if I get customers who come and keep trying to knock me down or say, can you get cheaper materials, lower quality materials? I think, no, I don't want to do it.
No.
It's just not worth it. So you may think you are in a Moroccan souk bidding on a rug, but I'm afraid these are builders who have just been down the CAF, who have seen it all before and could not give a shrunken monkey's head.
No. Don't try and knock the builder down. Just take another builder on who's cheaper and we'll give you a second-rate job. That's the way to solve that little problem.
And one last thing, a little upside, because we've now got to move on to our questions, is I love the fact that when I've got a customer, male or female, who is a right royal pain in the backside and we're working in their house, their houses are often, they're driving their lovely car and nice clothes. Their houses are filthy. They are tips. And I do like to mention that I'm ever so sorry. We couldn't do that for a little bit because we had to clean behind the loo because it was filthy. I walk away knowing that it's all a facade, mate. It's all to try and make themselves feel better than me. And I know their house is sodding filthy.
Yeah, it is interesting. I suppose it's human nature. You approach a house where people haven't got a lot of money or whatever, and outside there's a white BMW, and you go into the hallway and the living room, and there's a 48-inch televisions, and on all this clobber, and a lovely kitchen, and then you go upstairs. And you stepped into a third world country because
I know they haven't got the money to finish upstairs.
It's all veneer.
I know. And lastly, before we go on to the questions, the best person to work for is a little old lady. You turn up, the granny's there. She meets you at the door with a cup of tea. She's still got her landline phone with a little table for it by the front door where she goes to answer the phone, and the money is there ready for the entire job. Yes. And she says, "Shall I pay you now?" No. You go, "No, I haven't done the job yet." But thank you anyway. And they are smashing people to work for.
They are.
This is just Chris and I having a little moan. We're actually here on the customer's side, but equally knowing a bit of this information and applying it in the real world may well help you get a better job from a builder. Yeah. It's a bit of live and let live is the best motto I'd say. So questions, Chris. On email, www.buildingsheriff.com is our website. You can find the email there and email a question to us. Ray in Guildford asks, whenever one of my light bulbs blows, tongue twister there, one of the switches in my fuse box trips. Is this normal?
I'm afraid it is. You've got yourself a splitter box, and and these switches, if you've noticed, Ray, aren't bits of wire that you bend around a couple of terminals anymore. They're little switches. They're called micro circuit breakers, and they do trip at the drop of a hat. And they do that to save you and your family's life, Ray. So it's a damn nuisance, but there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, I see you about to interject, young Poot.
Yes, I'm just going to correct you slightly here, Chris, because I wouldn't say I'm afraid. I would say I'm pleased to say, Ray, that yes, they do, because it means he's got an RCD'd fuse board.
Yeah.
So yes, that is perfectly normal, Ray, and nothing to worry about. And Chris is spot on with what he says. So we're moving on to Twitter now, and Twitter trends, Chris.
Today. No, a new day, a new trend, Pooch.
And
as our friend the Trump said anything recently?
Not that's massively trending, and he's been usurped today by Ashes cricket.
Right, now then, Pooch, the last result I heard was that, oh God, what's he called? Oh, for God's sake, take me out and shoot me. What's the captain called, Pooch?
Joe Root.
Root was on 60 odd. I think we had 130 to get with about 7 wickets, either 7 wickets down or 7 wickets gone. Tell me what's happened since then, Pooch.
Nothing's happened since then, Chris, because that's the last I heard, because they're not playing at the moment, because they're all asleep.
All right, so that was the end of play, was it? Right, I didn't realise.
At Hoopla on Twitter asks, I know this is a silly question, but I'm arguing the toss with a builder. Is it patio doors or patio door? I'm for plural.
Well,
it's a strange one, isn't it?
Well, Chucky Egg, how many doors are there? No, of course she's not there, is she? I reckon it's a patio doors. How many for you, Pooh?
Yes, well, I think that they are mixed up here, Chris, because I think it's a French door they're thinking about, which is the 2 doors. Mm-hmm. If you have a French door, which is the 2 doors. So, yes, it's patio doors. Yeah, it's a daft question. So,
she did say it was a daft question. And boy, is she right.
Or he, Hoopla, could be a man. Anyway, okay, so, yeah, very daft question, but Susan in Wakefield on Facebook asks, rather than refurbishing all of my kitchen, I'm considering just changing the doors. How viable is this?
Perfectly viable. Do it. Change the doors, change the handles. You get what you think is a new kitchen. It'll look new. Do it. But I would suggest that you buy one door, take an existing door off, and see whether your one new door will fit.
Equally, Chris, how about this? If the mountain won't come to Mohammed, take the door off and go to the kitchen shop.
Yes, go to B&Q with it and hold it up against one of their doors. Yeah, that'll cost you nothing.
That's a fabulous idea. Fabulous. Right. Well, I am going to finish off cooking my healthy minestrone soup. Fresh.
Is that all you're having for dinner?
With lashings of crusty bread, loads of minestrone soup, and then I will have some chicken casserole that I cooked yesterday. But my wife moans because my son and I, and to a certain extent my daughter, eat like horses. Well, my daughter doesn't, my son and I do, and we love pasta every night, and my wife wants something healthy, so I've cooked a soup for her.
What a lovely man you are, Pete.
As a starter.
Anyway, when I came up here, because I'm in the back bedroom, I came through my kitchen, and Jan's making a lamb casserole, and it smells like probably the sewers of the Taj Mahal, and that's a good thing, Pooch. The smell, the Indian smell in that kitchen drove me crazy. Oh, yeah.
Really?
I can't wait to go down and eat the damn lot, mate.
Well, how about using that as a link for us to finish? So why don't we say goodbye and you go down and eat your lamb casserole?
Without being prompted, shall I do my now internationally famous sign-off signature thingy doodah?
Well, I shan't prompt you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Sooty, always we missed you, Sooty. Always the beachy trouble's always brewing, but really we must be fair. He's the cutest, sweetest, lovable teddy bear. Okay, Sooty, take it away on the xylophone. Ladies and gentlemen, Sooty.